Welcome to our 10th set of exchanges. This is the concluding part of our 2 set of exchanges where we have introduced the 4 human values of truth, righteous conduct, peace and love, which can create well-being and prevent social pain. And this has emerged from the earlier first 8 sessions where we explored the journey of the human mind and saw why this journey of the human mind had to change its direction in 2008 and the implications it has on our research hypothesis and our research methodology. And this research methodology is now exploring in this concluding part of the session. It is exploring the 4 human values. So let us start by saying, why can't these 4 values become the philosophy of this time in academia? In the experience of ancient wisdom's philosophy, all that OECD and the World Economic Forum wish to achieve is possible if these 4 common shared values of all religions and cultures are enabled in the daily experience and application of all. What may be restraining this possibility? Can we learn about this from lectures 5 to 8? The death of ideas of Enlightenment School was sounded by Feuerbach's theory that may have later been interpreted to imply that sensuousness is the basis of experience of reality. The Stanford Encyclopedia states, and I quote, "Feuerbach regards sensation as the first condition of willing." Among the specific drives to which Feuerbach refers in his later writings are the drive to self-preservation, the sexual drive, the drive to enjoyment, the drive to activity, and the drive to knowledge, unquote. The encyclopedia, Stanford's encyclopedia, also states, and I quote, "Feuerbach occasionally distinguishes between healthy and unhealthy drives, though he has little to say about the standard or criteria for making such a distinction," unquote. As we pointed out with Bertrand Russell's admission of any lack of clarity on the ethical basis of actions is dangerous, especially in curriculum design. So what attitude hampers OECD's aims? That is what concerns us. The OECD has rightly identified that attitudes need to be changed and that it is on education that its Directorate of Education and Skills is concentrating on. Will the attitude of conceptualizing academic ideas in the last 150 years, will this attitude need a revisit to achieve the aims of OECD and the World Economic Forum? The attitude gives primary importance, our current attitude is giving primary importance to sense perception as the first way of knowing. Is it formed from Feuerbach's sensuousness and later scientific materialism? Did it shape academics of scientific discoveries and inventions? As we have said, that the philosophy can overpower even the scientific mind when it presents its ideas. We saw Newton's work last time and what Professor Chomsky's comments were, MIT's Professor Chomsky's comments. What has been the philosophy of science till now? Even as science breaks these barriers, was it being confined to things that are only observable, measurable, and experienced by human senses? For 150 years, has science been constrained artificially in these barriers? Is the capacity of nature beyond these barriers? Is it infinite compared to human capacity? What our sense organs can see about nature, say an earthquake coming, is our capacity limited and is the capacity of nature unlimited? If so, is the capacity of human sense organs, if we want to capture all and know everything about nature, then the capacity of our sense organs should be infinite too. Is the capacity of human sense organs infinite to grasp this infinite nature of truth, of nature? This has never been the origin of the attitude of science or the nature of investigation in ancient wisdom. So let's look at ancient wisdom versus current wisdom. Ancient wisdom is based on two ideas: awareness and study of limits. The first deals with human consciousness, and if that is not awakened, then we start with discovering the capacity of the human mind. If we are not able to awaken the consciousness, then we look at the mind. Then this second idea deals with, which is the study of limits, tells us how to use the mind and how to use the body. Education in ancient wisdom deals with awareness first, and then teaches the study of limits of how to use the mind and how to use the body. Modern wisdom deals with neither of these adequately as per the standard set by ancient wisdom. Has modern philosophy led science to state? We don't know, as Professor Chomsky of MIT has mentioned. If the conclusions of what is ethics, which give the limits to human behavior, are also similar, ancient wisdom would see clearly why the crisis like 2008 and 2020 occurred. What are the ideas that guide search and research? We see in research methodology that philosophy of research is important. We've seen that earlier in our earlier lectures. Awareness is that philosophy or set of questions that guide human search. So that is, if you see the onion rings that we gave, then the outside onion ring, the first onion ring of philosophy, that is the set of questions that guide human search. That is what awareness is about. They guide the method that guides our search methodologies. These methods lead to the same conclusions about ethics in all traditions, using the four human values of truth, righteous conduct, peace, and love. These are the four human values that prevent a crisis in society. So all this, how does it relate to your PhD topic? We must come back to that, because the idea of this course is to help you in your PhD topic. Modern wisdom would state that all this has nothing to do with your PhD research, its topic, its research methodology, or the current curriculum of research ethics. This criticism would be validated by a literature search, and the literature search would show that all that we are discussing is not there. Ancient wisdom would take the opposite view and try to fill the gap in literature to see how it can be filled. Ancient wisdom would say that personal transformation is a necessary condition. Transformation of ideas that relate to, say, splitting of the atom, the use of derivatives and leveraging that caused 2008 crisis, or learning about viruses and experimenting with them is the sufficient condition. Only if the necessary and sufficient conditions are met is the student ready for society. Without these conditions being met, it is dangerous to allow students to enter society. As modern science and modern education believes in evidence-based research that is confirmed repeatedly, ancient wisdom would give the evidence of 2008 and 2020 as repeated confirmations that led to OECDs to seek the education that has the power to reverse social pain. And since there is a literature gap, this is the course and this is the set of lectures that seek to fulfill this literature gap in current academic thought. So the question, when we make such a bold statement, the natural question which arises is, can you show how peace and love not being in the curriculum cause a crisis? Some may, after listening to sessions 1 to 8, admit that the search of truth is inherent to science. They'll say, nothing big about what you're saying. The search of truth is anyway inherent to science. They may also admit the need for righteous conduct to prevent recurrence of, say, 2008 and 2020. Of course, their current views on method, which is our guide to research and research methodology, may be different. It is likely that their views on ethics, which for us guide our research ethics, are not similar. From the standpoint of modern wisdom, which relies on current academic literature, it may be difficult to understand how peace and love are the core of a curriculum. As we have seen earlier, philosophy guides search and research. Ideas of ethics emerge from a philosophy of life that builds attitudes, character, values. Ancient wisdom's philosophy rests on four human values for its ethics to emerge. Modern wisdom may agree to the first two, but may find it difficult to find literature to support the human value of peace and love as the very basis of ethics and education. So, to revisit the question, why are we resorting to ancient wisdom in the day of and age of modern science? This can be the question. This needs a scientific answer. We have seen that Einstein himself believed that a problem cannot be solved from the same mindset that has created it in the first place. If the end result or evidence is social pain, we need to examine what caused it. Education has been identified as a solution by OECD. In ancient times, religion was used as a means of transforming human thought. This continued till religion started forming rituals and opinions that had no basis in science or common sense of scientists. The way Socrates was accused of impiety and forced to drink poison and die is an example. The trial of Galileo and life imprisonment sentence may have begun the death of respect for religion. For, like Socrates, Galileo was resurrected as the father of astronomy, father of scientific method, father of modern physics, father of modern science, etc. Did the death of thinkers and scientists show that their search or inner search has disturbed the peace or inner peace of powers that be? If Jesus taught God is love, then their death did not demonstrate God's idea in actions of the ruling government of that time. Or it did not show that God is love is being followed in thought, word and deed by religions which are guiding the governments of that time. If searching for truth is acceptable as a scientific idea, then discovering true potential of each individual should also be a scientific idea. So that is what ancient wisdom would say. Even if scientific materialism is taken to be true and the human being is nothing more than a digesting duck with the mind emitting ideas as the liver secretes bile, a logic still holds. Just as so much transformation is done on chemicals and physical matter by science, can the human mind too not be transformed by transforming the body? So let us say we are a digesting duck. So by transforming the body, just as chemicals and inner chemicals are transformed, can our thoughts not be transformed? This would very much be acceptable to the scientific materialism logic, or so we can presume. If this is so, then the science of yoga, of ancient wisdom, tries to do the same by transforming the body first. It then proceeds to the next step, which is interesting. Studying the mechanisms and improving them of the digesting duck may be one approach. And if the human body is a digesting duck, then yoga is the approach to improve the functioning of the digesting duck or the human body. Ancient wisdom's yoga adds the idea, where does it makes the idea interesting? Beyond the digesting duck, yoga adds the idea of breath to it. For will not the digesting duck stop all its functions when the breath stops? So is breath that one truth which maintains the balance or peace in the system? And the fact that it does it silently, not an indication of its love? When all parts work in peace and harmony, only then does the body function normally, even for a digesting duck. Hence, we conclude that the breath which peacefully keeps our body in balance, we can conclude that peace or balance within the instrument that is comprehending the phenomena of the world, this instrument, this human body, that peace and love within the human body is important. For if the battery for measuring the instrument is faulty, can the reading be relied on? So first of all, this is the battery which is giving the power to measure the instrument. So if the battery is faulty, the reading of the instrument will be faulty. So let us study the science of the measuring instrument, that is the human body, further. We know that a wound on the body heals itself. Why? Because resources from all over the body rush to provide their best to enable that body part to heal. Sickness occurs when resources from within the body are not sufficient to heal. This is the best example of selfless love that this measuring instrument, the human body itself, demonstrates. Balance or peace is maintained within the body because of this selfless love being exhibited by all parts of the body together. The Ubuntu idea, the Sehna Vavtu approach, selfless love and peace exist in the curriculum of the body, then why not in the curriculum of the mind? For being included in the use of the human mind, they must be used in education first. If inner peace does not exist in a human being, can there be peace in society? If all the human beings in society are not experiencing inner peace, is it possible to have peace in the society? The human being in actions can over time express only that which is within. You can hide your nature for some time, but not for all the time. If there is harmony and peace within the individual, it will get reflected in the actions. Ubuntu is an example of the inner peace in all children in the group. Even if one child in the group did not share the feeling, he would have run ahead. Of course, everyone may not have the same depth of feeling, but if a majority have the feeling, the peer pressure makes others conform to the norm. The same logic is for the greed-driven behavior that caused the 2008 crisis. Here the norm was working the other way around. Each individual was trying to maximize his or her bonus, which was linked to the profit of the company. There was no generally agreed common sense of what is the basic ethical standard. All four human values are an integrated whole. Each value naturally emerges from the other. If academic search is understood as not relating to the human mind or the transformation of an individual, it is unlikely to find ideas relating to individual transformation in academic literature. For literature will just concentrate on how to convert steam or burning of coal or nuclear energy to power, etc. It will take a similar approach to the human mind and simply give it information on how to split the atom, how to use the derivatives, how to handle big data, how to use coding of computers, etc., etc. It may not look at creating literature on what will prevent misuse of the atomic button, the stealing of privacy of data of individuals, the hacking of computers, cyber wars that may use a small microchip to infiltrate defenses of individuals and nations, whether on their computer or mobile or in a sea warship. 2008 and 2020 have brought this search to issues of values, attitudes, character. Ancient wisdom views them as interrelated concepts of human transformation. Such transformation was education's responsibility. OECD and World Economic Forum, we are grateful to them for having revived this thought once again and brought it into the forefront of the world. So how are these four values interrelated? In the tradition of ancient wisdom, one value naturally leads to the other, making all four emerge. Let us start with the simple case of speaking the truth. What does it ensure? It ensures a mental alertness about truth in every situation. It leads to a habit of mental investigation of the truth always. Sooner or later, it leads one to seek the truth about oneself also. Just as when it rains, the land which was dry till now suddenly becomes green. No one went and sowed the seeds there. It becomes green. So, the nature of the truth of the individual slowly starts revealing itself. When the rainfall comes, the nature, the potential of the ground to become green gets revealed. The experience, so selfless love, all the truth, righteous conduct, selfless love, peace, they are all already there, lying as seeds within the barren ground of the mind. A little bit of rain and they can be brought out. So the experience of ancient wisdom over thousands of years is that the nature of truth about the individual is that he or she is filled with goodness, with the capacity of producing excellence. When this is slowly revealed through the actions of the individual in the form of experience, it leads to self-confidence. This self-confidence is the true tradition of wisdom, but it should be steeped in humility, without arrogance of the uniqueness of the talents revealed by the nature of search and its practice. This is the beginning of the other three values. This is how all values are interrelated. And how do the other values emerge from truth? Speaking the truth slowly inculcates a mental investigation into the truth as a habit. Such a mental investigation slowly makes it obvious what righteous conduct is. You want to know what is the right thing to do in every situation, the truth of every situation. You'd like to stick to it. This activates the voice of the conscience, which gives the touchstone of righteous action. Hence, the second value follows from the first. The benefits of speaking the truth softly, sweetly, in a wise manner that does not hurt has multiple dimensions. It not only reveals the inner true dimensions of the individual, but removes all unnecessary thoughts from the mind. For speaking the truth removes all plans or deviations that the mind is engaged in constantly. Speaking the truth makes the mind clear. It's very clear what you have to speak. This removes all inner conflict. That is how it generates inner peace, the third shared value. It is when you stop speaking lies, you will not keep planning lies. And when you stop planning for lies, the mind becomes peaceful. And from inner peace, peace results. That's the third shared value. So what will be the nature of love in an agitated mind? Selfless love is the hallmark of a mind which is full of peace, having equal love for all. That is the fourth shared value. When the mind is peaceful, it can experience that quality of selfless love. So did distortion in philosophical ideas come from an inadequate understanding of love? Just as one value leads to the other, does the cycle work the other way around too? Does distortion in the philosophical understanding of one shared value distort the understanding and application of all others? If the shared values are forgotten or not applied, the essence that Feuerbach, Hegel and others discuss so fervently is lost. Without their essence, religions lose their appeal and effectiveness as moral guides. If education too has not been able to capture this essence in concepts applied in academics, then repeated crises will result. Has such distortion begun with the understanding of love and led to all other shared values being forgotten? 2008 witnessed how lack of truth in communication of derivatives or in balance sheets of companies made us suffer. Has Feuerbach's focus on sensuousness led to a lack of desire to comprehend Jesus' idea of love? If the mind is exposed to importance of sense perception in academia, then giving up the human body to take on the pain of mankind is not an idea that has any relevance in real life that academics prepares students for. Feuerbach talks about sensation and pain. But can pain give joy? If we ask the mother who gave us birth if she suffered pain during childbirth, she will say yes. So, should giving birth to children be stopped? If we ask the mother if she experienced a deep joy during childbirth, the answer in most cases will again be yes. If we ask if the experience of joy was greater than the pain, mostly the answer will be yes. That is why children continue to be born for thousands of years. The capacity of pain and joy to be there together and searching for a perspective that looks beyond them is the basis of selfless love. Mothers are living example of selfless love, especially during childbirth. So what happens when idea of selfless love gets distorted? All values go away. The distortion of idea of selfless love is not restricted to Jesus. It is not restricted to Jesus. In every tradition, the idea is there and it is distorted. It can extend to Krishna in the Indian tradition. Sensuousness is convenient. Greed is convenient. Untruth may be temporarily convenient. Being peaceful may not allow you to grab the opportunity from others. Yes, there may be a loss, but when you do not grab opportunities from others because you're not at peace, there may be a loss, but how permanent was the gain in 2008? It led to disturbing the peace of the world and many families in it. If selfless love is forgotten, then personal gain, not righteous conduct, become the guide for human action. Not truth, but maybe half-truth is the currency. A virus can then spread in society, disturbing peace. Forgetting equal love for all, as in Ubuntu, began with 2008. It is traced to 2020 only as an example here to show the interrelatedness of the four shared values. So let us answer possible criticism that may arise of Ubuntu. Modern economics believes that capitalism is driven only by animal spirits. The animal spirit is of competition and individual profit maximization. This has been the core of economic theory and business management for 150 years. The time period on OECD's graph of prosperity with social pain is the same. Before 2008, the mention of Ubuntu may have led to a reaction. That is why Africa is so poor. Because of this approach, instead of having sweets, they starve together instead, and people would have laughed. They would argue that it is individual brilliance, the capacity to run ahead and grab all, which pulls the society forward. The criticism of Sehna before the 1990s would also have been similar. In fact, in economics, the notorious term Hindu rate of growth was coined to show an attitude of contentment and offering free services which don't add to the GDP. So they said it's meaningless what you are doing. Service to the poor would be meaningless as it's not adding to the GDP. That's why they have a Hindu rate of growth. India was accused of that. The criticism that pertains to individual brilliance shows a lack of understanding of the Sehna approach, which can explain the dimensions of Ubuntu. The four human values are designed to bring out the true human potential. This potential is not in laziness and sloth. Ancient Indian tradition is not about laziness or sloth. It is of attaining excellence in all activities that are undertaken. Taking the Ubuntu example, it does not mean that that the children will never be fast runners, as they will be slowed down by the speed of the slowest runner. That may be the convenient logic used to criticize this concept. It may apply in any approach, but not in the Sehna approach. Because Sehna treats you to run fast, but as a separate activity. Not when you have to run for the sweets together. Speaking the truth reveals the truth of human potential, which is the ability to achieve excellence and fill it with goodness. The ability to achieve perfection is understood as the core of capitalism. If only excellence is useful, then a pickpocket who does his work without getting caught should be considered a success. Because he is grabbed and run away first. He was a fast runner. He was efficient at his work. Has the same approach been used by companies and towards the environment? Have we been picking the pocket of customers? Have we been picking the pocket of environment without getting caught? But we did get caught in 2008. So without goodness, society suffers. The University of Sussex, in a 2017 paper, discusses the concept of Ubuntu in relation to development theory of economics. This paper by Hoffman and mates shows how the most attractive features of apparently incompatible capabilities approach in development economics and Ubuntu admit to unification. The paper states that, and I quote, while the former seems to focus on individuals, that they're talking about Ubuntu, as the focus of ethical values, the latter concentrates on relations between individuals as the locus. They are talking of the capabilities approach focusing on individuals, while the Ubuntu approach is concentrating on the relations between individuals as the locus. The paper interprets the approach of Amartya Sen, and I quote the paper, largely as a response to particularism, unquote. It goes on to, and I quote, develop a new view of capabilities as inherently relational, unquote. It considers what a, and I quote, Ubuntu-like capabilities approach would look like, unquote. It concludes by arguing that, I quote, a relational instance of the capabilities approach is both unique and compelling, unquote. It seeks to show that this theory is a promising new alternative. So there is academic thought emerging in this area also. How will these ideas impact ideas in education in the context of OECD's new goal of well-being? Even as we discuss, the OECD's Directorate of Education and Skills is working already on a new curriculum, even as we are discussing and talking. Simultaneously, the country of origin of Sehna approach, India, is implementing a new education policy. The new education policy, or NEP 2020, is a good guide to possibilities of creating a new global curriculum of education to merge with OECD's work. As ancient India has been a reservoir of ideas and concepts in education globally, even before the time of the universities of Nalanda and Takshila, we should examine its NEP 2020, its National Education Policy 2020, closely. How can it create well-being? The global context should be kept in mind as a context for converging India's National Education Policy 2020 and the OECD and World Economics work to create an international education policy. This is part of our method here or our research methodology. The ability to create such a curriculum is the work ethic that guides our search and research. So while using current ideas of education, we should remember their limitations as was found by OECD. We should not forget that for the very first time, social pain, education, and prosperity were put together in one graph by OECD. Is this not the antithesis of education? Is education being accused of causing that which its very purpose seeks to avoid? The truth about education is that it creates well-being. Hence, we need to investigate the true nature of education to remove its link with social pain. The 2008 and 2020 crisis are enough evidence for us to start this search for the nature of education. The course in research ethics using research methodology is a beginning point for this long journey should extend to each subject of study. The main objectives of NEP are that it seeks to transform intent and content of education. It seeks to connect the local and the global to make students future ready by focusing on national goals and also creating global citizens connected to roots. It seeks to shift the focus from what to think to how to think. Give autonomy to institutions and emphasis on teacher training. Two objectives, however, of the National Education Policy of India need a clearer focus. The very first line of the policy seeks to achieve the full human potential. How to do it? For this is the truth of education. The fourth line seeks cultural preservation. Again, how to do it? For this is also the truth of education. True culture is that which preserves all human beings. We need to preserve such culture through education. The NEP, the National Education Policy of India, is transforming content of education. How is the content being transformed? The International Baccalaureate curriculum ideas are also being drawn upon. The IB curriculum rests on a theory of knowledge and many wonderful ideas that can transform India's education and its future. However, some precautions may also be needed to avoid pitfalls. The theory of knowledge uses 8 ways of knowing, and the first is sense perception. The second is reason, the third is emotion, the fourth is faith, then there is imagination, intuition, memory, and language. So, what do science and ancient wisdom say? While science explores the outside world, wisdom explores the inside world. Science looks at truth that is verifiable by experience. Now, what is experience? This is where some are limited by using sense perception alone in life. However, wisdom explores beyond sense perception, yet uses education to transform the quality of experience of the sense perception. Our previous sessions explored selfless love and peace to prevent social pain. Can selfless love and peace be experienced through the process of education? If not, do we revisit philosophy, or do we research method, or do we re-examine ethics? Just as our course in research ethics using research methodology seeks to do. Finally, both ancient wisdom and science agree that if experience contradicts theory, the experience should be accepted and the theory revisited. If selfless love, peace are not being experienced, do techniques of education need to be revisited? If the land of Gandhi and Vinoba, both of whom have demonstrated the use of peace and love, cannot do it, who else will? Therefore, we are looking at India's National Economic Education Policy 2020. 2008 led OECD to revisit education. Will 2020 lead India to add value to it, meeting OECD's new objective? India's national education policy wants to help individuals realize their full human potential. Obviously, OECD found that the present curriculum, which currently is being used in the developed world, could not deliver this. It created prosperity but could not see that it reached a vast majority. The prosperity could not reach everybody. The problem may lie in the idea of prosperity becoming individual-centric. Economics, teaching and application used an individual-centric focus of profit maximization without concern of its impact on society. The 2008 crisis made the developed world rediscover the link of economic prosperity with education and social well-being. Such a link is part of India's cultural heritage. Can the 2020 crisis and India's new national education policy meets its cultural preservation objective while offering the world all that it expects from education now? This course on research ethics using research methodology seeks to do this and fill the gap in academic curriculum. Social behavior post-education in 2020. Let us analyze it in countries which have used the IB curriculum. It has now been agreed that the purpose of education is not just prosperity. Education, all agree, must change the quality of human life, especially in society. 2020 has provided a litmus test of how education has transformed society. Can we look at this social behavior in the world that we consider developed? Is their behavior a benchmark for us to follow? Can we then blindly follow their education? 3 tests are important. Has their social behavior shown unity? Has it shown discipline? Has it shown a willingness to sacrifice for others? It has in many situations, but not all. Have we also seen state of mental health, which is big, if not a bigger crisis than COVID-19? The fact that the crisis is during education years till the age of 25 is a matter of great concern. It may seem that education has been unable to address it. What can make the well-being goal difficult to achieve? If well-being is created in an individual-centric ways, will it share the fate of prosperity, which was also created in an individual-centric way? The 2008 crisis was due to financial risks. The MBAs and their curriculum was blamed. Can India's ancient wisdom ideas create a curriculum using the same ideas, concepts and theories, yet in a manner that prevents these problems? Business is about strategy, and strategy about a way to achieve a goal. What then creates well-being for individuals and society together? Indian tradition uses 4 goals. These 4 goals are called the 4 Purusharthas and were tested to create holistic well-being. If the MBA curriculum is understood and applied using them, recessions can be prevented. Here topics of under Artha, which is talked about, can maybe be talked of as business, include total quality management, and Kama, which is desire fulfillment, is topics of competitive strategy. Academic literature on competitive strategy can be taught under that. But what is important to prevent recessions is the pairing, the proper pairing of Artha with Dharma or righteous conduct and Kama with Moksha or compatibility with society prevents social and economic problems. But we need to remember something. All that is ancient in our tradition is not wisdom. We need to remove the wheat from the chaff. How does ancient Indian wisdom create a holistic idea of well-being? We all experience our bodies, hence our right hand does not hurt the left. Ancient Indian wisdom seeks to expand this vision of oneness from an individual-centric to include the world, the universe. its Purusha Suktam is saying the same thing, that humans are a limb of society and society is a limb of nature. We currently limit this idea to our immediate family. We just feel that, okay, I, me, mine. We limit well-being from an individual centric, we may expand it to the family and the firm where we work. The expansion of the human heart is education. When the human heart expands, that is how it expresses love. When it expands and feels the pain of the family member as your own pain, then that is selfless love in action. When that selfless love is expanded to include everybody as part of your family, that is ancient wisdom. That it helps all as it would love and help oneself. Hence, help ever, hurt never is the transformation ancient wisdom's education seeks. It defines an educated person as only one who seeks a oneness with others in the world. If you do not have this feeling of oneness, you are not considered as educated. Only then, when you have the feeling of oneness, can you be trusted to take decisions in society. Its time-tested techniques enable transformation of attitudes within students depending on their inner nature. Life, it shows, anyway teaches us to expand our vision. When students will go out and get married, then they will think of two, the well-being of two, not one. When the family comes, when children come, the feeling of oneness expands to larger numbers. When they go and join a company, they think of even larger groups. So anyway, life is going to teach you to expand your vision to include the well-being of others as part of your own well-being. So why not start with this vision right in the beginning, in the Sahanavaktu approach, the idea of cooperation? Let us start every session of education to expand our heart and fill it with selfless love. So can we start with this vision as we live in society, in the nation and in the world? So how do character competencies that World Economic Forum and OECD seek, how do they arise? The ancient Indian viewpoint, let us see. Rightly, we believe that the competencies lead to prosperity and are expressed through research. Ancient wisdom begins with search that leads to discoveries and adds unique value. When a search starts within, it leads to self-discovery. That was its route to develop competencies. Discovery of individuality impacts research. Such research expresses creativity in a way that is unique to the individual. A desire to copy so that you can compete better vanishes. Then one's own past effort is our only competitor. We have to improve on what we have done in the past. Self-discovery should lead to building character. The excellence it creates should be filled with goodness. Misguided discovery without goodness is discouraged in this tradition, using many legends, like there are legends of Ravana, who was very, very competent in many ways but did not have control over sensuousness or the sense organs. So these are the ways that removing or not having a focus on sensuousness is taught using such legends. Hiranyakashipu was another example. So legends abound. The wisdom's goal of self-discovery creates well-being of individual and society together. How? The path is simple. Speak the truth, follow righteous conduct. This transforms attitudes as desired by OECD. And what is the desired attitude? To help ever, hurt never. This leads to first seeking non-zero-sum solutions, that is, solutions that make an individual gain without creating a loss for others. We seek those solutions. The theory of knowledge has points that are not explored enough. International Baccalaureate Curriculum's theory of knowledge has points, they are not explored enough, even though they are listed in the theory. The use of theories, conjectures presently used may all be wonderful. However, often they are treated as value neutral or scalar. Wisdom adds the direction of ethics, making them vectors. Our research ethics course uses a method or methodology for this. The IB curriculum's theory of knowledge considers, and I quote, factors that transcend individual ways of knowing and areas of knowledge. The list has many areas for further exploration. The nature of knowing factor is there in IB curriculum. It has not explored wisdom enough, or the four human values, or the techniques of wisdom like speaking the truth while searching for it. Can we learn to see a situation using the eye of love and peace? It is also called empathy. The theory of knowledge of the IB curriculum has the knower's perspective and application of knowledge. It has this factor. This factor can explore the role of experience, especially as gained through Harvard's Sarah Lazar's research on meditation techniques and its impact. The IB curriculum also has a factor called the justification of knowledge claims. It has not explored self-awareness enough. How does awareness arise? Feuerbach and others' confusion needs answers. In all these factors, ancient wisdom of India can add value. Its concepts, techniques, and practices are useful for transforming the experience with which the theories are used. Ancient Indian methodology of search, which creates ethics, can lead to a theory of wisdom, not just a theory of knowledge. And what is that one thing of India's wisdom that can help the world in reshaping education curriculum to create well-being in society? It can help overarch a myopic attitude of such greed that harms all or others. This emerges from an excessive dependence on sense perception that leads to the false idea about even wisdom's, ancient wisdom's Dvaita theory. A misguided understanding that the world is I versus others is the cause of all problems. Dvaita theory doesn't imply such a free license, even though it admits duality. This worldview of I versus the others impacts the 8 ways of knowing in the theory of knowledge. We must realize this, that I versus others attitude is what is impacting all the factors. That is, reason, it impacts our reason, emotion, faith, imagination, how we use our imagination, intuition, our memory, our language, what we choose to remember, what we choose to forget, our language. That we say capitalism is arousing the animal instincts. The language we use, what we celebrate as success, this leads to misguided actions that bring disrepute to education. Above all, it impacts faith in oneself, the cause of mental ill health, which is today occurring in the age group till 25 years, the education years. It means that there is something in education that we are not doing, that is creating mental dis-ease. They are not at ease with themselves mentally. Can the concepts taught in education restore that mental peace? So how did ancient Indian education inculcate ethics as a basis of education to meet this challenge? OECD today seeks values in education. Values should unite and be acceptable to all. What are the values that unite faiths, religions, philosophies, and therefore society? These should emerge from the way lessons in mathematics, sciences, that are subjects which lead to prosperity, as well as economics and management, those subjects which plan for prosperity. How they are taught, the values should emerge from the way these subjects are taught. Then the application of academic concepts will create well-being for both the individual and society. Then values will become an experience in which an individual lives. How can education create this experience? Can a value-based understanding of all subjects that plan for prosperity and create prosperity emerge from wisdom-based concepts? So let us see how ancient wisdom transforms, ancient Indian wisdom transforms. It has a text, 5,000-year-old text called Bhagavad Gita, which shows the path and calls it Jnanatam Drashtatam Cha Tattven Praveshatam. That is, first know what is to be investigated, then visualize it so that the mind can grasp the truth to be investigated, and finally enter the experience of the truth to become one with it. So what is being investigated? The I of the individual, the I of the world, and the I of awareness or consciousness. How does it have to be investigated? This is where they use the symbol of the crescent moon as the symbol of the mind. And this symbol is found in religions also. Jnanatam is using the sense perception to rise above it. Drashtatam is using the intellect to grasp how to investigate truth using discrimination. And finally, Praveshtam is when the heart is transformed and it becomes one with the object that is being visualized. The behavior of many scientists show such a search. Archimedes forgot his body when he jumped out of the bathtub. All scientists spend hours in deep concentration and merge their identity with the object of their search. Peter Drucker of Management Thinker 2 recommends such a path when you have to solve a problem. Wisdom enables experience of goodness, creates well-being of the individual and society. This transforms in three ways. When values, creativity are used with character to develop competencies, it firstly transforms the student who is in the education system. That's the first goal, to transform the student. Secondly, it transforms the curriculum and teaching or learning methodology, the Sehnavavtu approach that we are talking about. And the first transformation of the student is coming through speak the truth, follow righteous conduct. Secondly, transform the curriculum, the Sehnavavtu approach. Finally, it transforms the education policy of the nation and can transform the education policy of the world, taking India back to its role as the formulator of ideas that transform citizens of the world. Using these or similar ideas, the National Education Policy of India 2020, the World Economic Forum, and OECD's efforts can together create an international education policy to solve the problems. We will end our session here and leave you to formulate your questions, to make your observations, to continue your search, your research, to see how you can handle and tackle your PhD problem, your PhD thesis, your research hypothesis. We wait for your questions and your observations. Thank you so much for your time and attention.